Assalamu alaikum. It's Sista Samilah, back on AfroWire AI with a truth-telling session the mainstream will never touch. Family, tonight we're digging into a chapter of recent history that still stings for a lot of us. I'm talking about Barack Hussein Obama, the first so-called Black president of the United States. Yeah, we put the so-called on it for a reason, and tonight you're going to hear why. Now, let me be clear. This commentary is not about tearing down symbols just for the sake of it. This is about understanding what really happened in those 8 years, what it revealed about America, and why his presidency opened the eyes of Black America to something we can't unsee: the need for delineation, for drawing the line about who we are, what we need, and who can really speak for us. For too long, we bought into the picture-perfect narrative. We saw what we thought was a Black family in the White House and believed change was on the horizon. But what we got was a lesson in the limits of symbolism, the reality of lineage, and the cost of putting hope over history. Tonight, Sista Samilah is breaking it all the way down. Let's go. Let's set the scene. It's 2008. Black America from coast to coast is electrified. You see grandmothers who survived Jim Crow tearing up at the voting booth. You see the youth marching, dancing, and painting murals. The history books would have you believe the world changed that night, and in some ways it did. For the first time, a man with brown skin, a Black wife, and 2 beautiful daughters stands on that White House stage and says, "Yes, we can." Black folks all over the world felt it in their bones. Maybe, just maybe, the country was turning a page. The hope was real. The symbolism was powerful. But family, here's the thing about symbolism. It can fill you up for a minute, but if there's no substance behind it, you're still hungry. We watched that family walk the White House halls, saw Michelle planting gardens, watched Sasha and Malia grow up before our eyes, and thought, that's us up there. But underneath the pride was a growing sense of confusion and disappointment. The issues that mattered most to the Black lineage community, reparations, anti-Black violence, economic justice, and real policy change, were quietly pushed to the background. What we witnessed was a lesson in optics, not outcomes. Obama's rise was a masterclass in racial representation, but soon we started to notice every time Black Americans asked for something specific, the answer was always no, not now, or that's not just for you, that's for everyone. The hope of 2008 turned into the questions of 2016. Did we get real change or just a pretty picture? That's when Black America started waking up. The era of delineation, drawing the line, naming our lineage, demanding what's owed, was born out of those years when symbolism replaced substance. To understand why Obama could never fully represent us, you have to understand who he is. Barack Obama's father was a Kenyan scholar. His mother was a white woman from Kansas. His formative years were spent in Hawaii and Indonesia, worlds away from the lived reality of Black folks whose ancestors survived slavery, Jim Crow, and the never-ending grind of American racism. Now, let's be honest. Obama is a brilliant man. He's charismatic, articulate, and moved with grace under pressure. But what he was never able to do was truly feel and understand the depth of the Black American experience. The pain, the survival, the code switching, the double consciousness of living as the descendants of chattel slavery in a country that profited from our ancestors' backs. That's not a personal failure. It's a matter of lineage. Barack Obama wasn't a son of Selma, Mississippi. He didn't have grandparents who fled lynch mobs or parents who integrated segregated schools. He didn't come from the tradition of the Great Migration or the Southern Black Church or the urban battlegrounds where Black families fought for every inch of progress. When he entered the White House, he entered as a symbol, a Black man in the world's highest office. But when it came time to speak to Black America, he spoke as an outsider. When he talked about responsibility, he was always looking at us. When he talked about hope, he wanted us to forget the history that shaped us. Black America realized quickly there's a difference between Blackness as skin tone and Blackness as lineage, culture, and shared struggle. Obama's presidency taught us that representation alone is not enough if the person doing the representing doesn't come come from our story. This was the root of delineation, recognizing that not every Black face in a high place is qualified to speak for us. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the Oval Office, Obama's obsession with pleasing the white side of his family, his donors, and the establishment. Throughout his presidency, Obama walked a tightrope, always careful not to be too Black, always performing for the comfort of the mainstream. How many times did we see Obama take to the podium to lecture Black folks about responsibility, fatherhood, and pulling up our pants, while giving white America endless reassurances about his American values? When police killed unarmed Black men, his first instinct was to talk about law and order and the need to see both sides. He wanted the approval of the white establishment so badly that he shied away from even acknowledging our specific pain. When Black leaders called him the Black president, he recoiled, saying he was the president for all Americans. But watch how he embraced every other group's uniqueness, meeting with the LGBTQ community, the Latino community, the Jewish community, and giving each one tailored policy and recognition. But when it was time for Black Americans, suddenly the conversation became post-racial. Suddenly the message was that asking for something specifically for ourselves was divisive. In his quest to be accepted by white America, Obama left Black America on the outside, looking in. This is what the delineation movement is about. It's about recognizing that we cannot wait for acceptance from those who benefit from our oppression. We must draw the line and claim our needs, even when those in high places tell us to wait, be patient, or be quiet. Now, family, let's get down to specifics. In 8 years as president, Barack Obama never advocated for reparations. He didn't push for an anti-Black hate crime bill. He didn't use the power of the presidency to make Black America whole or even start the process. Let's talk about reparations first. The idea isn't new. We've been demanding it since the first day of freedom. Every credible historian, economist, and justice advocate knows that reparations are the only real way to address the wealth gap, the trauma, and the ongoing harm of slavery and Jim Crow. But when Obama was asked about reparations, he dodged, deflected, or outright said no. He'd tell us, we need policies that help everyone, not just Black people. Meanwhile, other groups got executive orders, special commissions, and direct funding for their unique needs. But for us, the answer was always to lift all boats, as if our boat wasn't built with holes. And when Black folks were murdered by police, or churches were burned, or hate crimes made national headlines, Obama gave moving speeches, yes. He sang Amazing Grace, but he didn't use the full weight of his office to pass laws or direct resources to protect us. He never called for a federal anti-Black hate crime law. He never prioritized the fight against police brutality with the kind of executive action we saw for other communities. When it came to real, tangible justice for Black America, Obama chose caution over courage. This is why delineation became necessary. Black Americans needed to say, our suffering is unique. Our needs are specific. Our justice cannot be watered down, delayed, or dismissed. Obama's presidency taught us the difference between speeches and policies, between tears and transformation. Family, let's talk about tone. The relationship between Obama and Black America was often paternalistic. Time and again, he used his platform to lecture us instead of loving us. He spoke more like a disappointed principal than a president who owed his victory to the very people he scolded. Whenever Black America spoke up, Obama reminded us to be responsible, to work harder, to have better families. He spoke about Black on Black crime in rooms full of billionaires, but never called out the structural forces keeping us locked out and locked up. He gave speeches at Morehouse and the NAACP talking about no excuses, but rarely called out the banks, the schools, the corporations, or the politicians who built the excuses into the system. When Black activists pushed for real change, he told them to be patient. Obama went silent or spoke in generalities. He could sing Amazing Grace, but couldn't say the names of the mothers who buried their sons. Contrast this with how he treated other communities. He met with dreamers, held pride events at the White House, and created task forces for every group but ours. When Black America needed compassion, we got tough love. When we needed an advocate, we got an admonisher. This is why the delineation movement matters. It's about demanding leaders who see us, love us, and speak directly to us, not over us, not at us, but for us. Obama's tone taught us that being the first means nothing if you can't bring your people with you. Let's touch on something personal that said it all. The way Barack Obama threw his longtime pastor, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, under the bus. Before the White House, before the campaign, Jeremiah Wright was the man who married Barack and Michelle, baptized their children, and helped shape Obama's public voice. Wright's sermons, sometimes fiery, always honest, spoke truth about America's treatment of Black people. He called out white supremacy, war, and hypocrisy from the pulpit. But when Obama's campaign came under fire because of Wright's words, what did Barack do? He denounced him. He distanced himself. He publicly shamed the man who had supported him for decades. Ask yourself, if a man will sell out his own pastor, a man who guided him, loved him, and poured into his family, then what chance do the rest of us have? Loyalty matters. If Obama wouldn't stand up for Reverend Wright, he surely wasn't going to stand up for Black America when it got uncomfortable. This was another lesson for our community. The delineation movement is about loyalty to our lineage, to our truth, to our struggle. Leaders who will throw us away for political gain can't be trusted with our future. Obama showed us what it looks like when success means sacrificing those who brought you to the dance. This wasn't just about politics. It was about integrity. The era of symbolism and representation without loyalty had to end. So where do we go from here? Out of disappointment, out of lessons learned, the delineation movement was born. It's the understanding that Black Americans are not just a color or a convenient voting bloc. We are a unique lineage, forged in the fires of American injustice, carrying a specific claim and a righteous demand for repair. Obama's presidency was the wake-up call. We saw that not every person who looks like us is from us. We learned that representation without understanding is just another way to silence our voice. We learned that only we can define our struggle, name our needs, and set our agenda. The delineation movement says, no more letting outsiders speak for us. No more letting symbols replace substance. No more waiting for acceptance from those who would rather see us invisible. It's about naming ourselves, claiming our inheritance, and drawing the line. This movement is not about hate. It's about love for our people, pride in our ancestors, and a refusal to be erased or folded into generic categories. It's about demanding reparations, specific policies, and real justice, not just for everyone, but for us, because our pain and contribution are unique. Obama's time in office opened our eyes. Now our eyes are on the prize. Family, the Obama years were a mirror. We saw what happens when hope meets reality, when symbolism meets lineage, when loyalty meets ambition. We learned that not every person who shares our skin shares our story. We learned that leadership without lineage is just politics in a pretty package. But most importantly, we learned to draw the line. Delineation is not a trend. It's our new North Star. We are not generic. We are not replaceable. We are not satisfied with hand-me-down justice or empty speeches. We want and we will get what's ours. Obama's presidency was not the dream fulfilled. It was the alarm clock waking us up to our own power and purpose. Now we walk in the legacy of our ancestors, speaking our truth, demanding our due, and building a movement no politician can sideline or sell out. This is Sista Samilah, always here to break it down and build you up. Don't let the system define your worth, your story, or your agenda. Delineate, demand, and deliver for yourself, your family, and your people. AfroWire out. Peace, power, and a new day for our lineage.